Welcome to episode 21 of the Landlady Boss podcast. I'm here with my sister and co-host Rachel. Hi, Rachel. How are you doing?
Hi, Marie. How are you doing?
I'm well, doing very well. A little jet lagged. Got back from fall break late last night, so doing laundry and cleaning and trying to catch up on everything. But that's how all good vacations go, right?
Yes, you
Creates
need
more
three
work.
days to catch up.
Exactly.
It's true.
But that's okay. It's still waiting for you when you come home. So that's okay. It was a little chilly. We were in Alaska, so we did a lot of hiking and we saw a glacier and had to bundle up, but it was very beautiful.
I'm so glad you got a good chance. And you took a niece too, so you got a lot of family. That was fun.
I know, a niece surprised my kids and showed up and they were so excited. We drove to the airport to pick her up and the kids are like, "Why are we back at the airport?" I'm like, "I think we forgot something." And then they saw her and just started screaming. "Ah!" So it was so fun.
I
Yeah,
love it.
it
I
was a
love
great
it.
time. But I came home and fall is in the air. It's nice and warm, but it makes us think about seasonal communications with our tenants. Now, we have done a whole episode about fall maintenance and things you do in the fall, but we want to talk about the different seasons today and what you do for each season and communicating with your tenants and how to communicate them. So let's start with how should we communicate with our tenants for the seasonal communication? What are your thoughts,
Awesome.
Rach?
Yeah, I think because they're your tenants and you want to be very respectful of intruding upon them, having your maintenance grouped together makes it so that less people are inconvenienced. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to do, let's just say you have, so for me, I like fall because this is a really good moment before you know winter's coming that you can get in the apartments and check for any leaks, change out the filters, get the furnace pilot lit, any fireplaces that need to be lit, anything that you need to, that you know will be coming when the cold happens, then you can do it then. I also like spraying for spiders, checking around the foundation to see if there's any like areas where the mice could come in. So you just let all your tenants know that your handyman or your maintenance person is going to be coming through and taking care of these things inside the apartments and outside.
Exactly. And the good way to communicate with them, you were saying, the portal you use, you can group them by maybe apartment building or all of the tenants, but it's a good way to have a template ready, and then you can just send it out by email or text to all of your tenants at the same time, making it very quick and easy. Email is probably great if you want to just have like a checklist and it doesn't have to be responded to immediately. But if there's something that needs, I think, a timely response or like, hey, tomorrow is going to be really bad weather, make sure that I would recommend doing that by text just because you get a quicker response time from tenants if it's text.
Right. And I'd make sure it's in your contract how much time that you need to give them. And different states have different requirements. Some are 24-hour notice, some are 48. Idaho's 24, and I just make sure I have in there that we give them 24-hour notice. But that's the bare minimum. I mean, if they have kids
Mm-hmm.
and their place, has toys around, or they work and they need to make sure that they need to get off in time, you want to make sure that you're not inconveniencing them too much by just suddenly showing up and saying, tomorrow we're coming. So since this isn't an emergency, try to keep goodwill by giving them a lot more time.
Right. Yeah, we try to at least give a week or two. I know we'll send out notices and we try to combine with our inspections because we do fall winter inspections in spring summer. And so we try to combine with those times so it's not like an extra thing we have to do to get into the house and they possibly have to miss work or, inconvenience them. But yeah, at the same time, let's check these things going into the season while we're already doing our biannual inspection.
Perfect. I love that. So that's fall. And I think also the leaves pick up. There's um, flowers need to be deadheaded. And I think who's doing the landscape? That's a really important question. Are you in charge of it or is the tenant? And are they aware of it? And do they need a reminder email when you're doing your monthly inspection and you notice that, the grass is looking pretty bad? This is one of the parts of the communication, a reminder to all your tenants that they need to be making sure that it's watered or these kind of things that you update on.
Yeah, and saying, and just so you're aware, the gutters, if that's their responsibility, otherwise, you cover that. But pruning back branches, I know we were the last couple of months doing a bunch of that kind of. There was one rental I have, and the branches were just kind of hanging down onto the roof and dropping a lot of things onto their deck and just causing problems with the gutters. So we had to prune those way back. And while the guy was out there, because it's a fiveplex, so there's a house and a fourplex. So while he was out there, my handyman was like, and by the way, how about over here and here and here? So I mean, we really, you know, took care of any future problems too that were coming while he was out there. So yeah, it's a great time. Get things caulked, really sealed up for winter. Make sure that you are just checking out each property. Any leaking problems that you can have, under the kitchen sink and in the cabinets, like checking for leaky plumbing. Any problems that you could have is
Yeah.
anything that you want to do. So.
And behind the washer and dryer. And the washer.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one. And
Yeah.
filters, checking those
Yeah.
filters, making sure that they're clean going into winter is going to be huge because so many furnace calls are because of a clogged filter. So
Hmm.
just replace those going into winter to stop that from even happening.
Right. And so a lot of my fall seasonal communications is usually exterior. But then my pre-winter,
Hmm.
so now we're hitting that, like November, October, we're going to hit our pre-winter. And this is when we blow out the sprinklers. And I'm going inside because you need to turn on everything, get it ready for winter, the pilots and stuff. So I think pre-winter is usually now. And so I'd be sending out a letter out to all the tenants saying we're coming in and we're going to be doing um, the smoke alarm batteries, et cetera, the things that we talked about. Um, you
Hmm.
know, the other thing, you and I both are in cold areas that are hard on pipes and large trees.
Yeah.
So they don't go together. Our old properties, I know they get roots in the sewer lines and they'll crack the pipes. We even have
Yes.
some that are just clay still, clay sewer pipes. So they just get cracked.
Us too.
Hmm.
Yep, some of these old houses have the old pipes and they just we that seems to be our maintenance issue this year, 2024. Clogged sewer lines, like collapsed lines or
Oh,
broken pipes. That we have had to deal with that a few times. And so what we try to do when we go in to do inspections or the pre-winter inspections, we drop copper sulfate granules down flush them down the toilet to
I
try
do.
to help get rid of those roots because they just cause such problems. And it's thousands of dollars every time you
Yeah.
have to fix a sewer line.
And I actually buy a bulk on Amazon and then divide it up in 1 cup measurements in Ziploc bags. And then,
I do too. Look at that. Aren't we smart and beautiful? My goodness.
right. And so then I have a template that I just send out, saying, hey, we're going to be dropping off the bags. Please flush it down your toilet. And so then they just pour it on the toilet and we take it to them once a month because I find that if we gave them 4 bags in advance, they lose the 3. So
Mm,
yeah. So
mhm.
anyway, we do that. We start
Yeah,
in
and we
November.
do we do that with our inspections, and then we flush it down when we go and do the inspections to make sure that it
Nice.
happens. So
Nice. Yeah,
either way, lots
because
of ways.
when it gets cold, that is exactly when the trees send out their taper roots and they go and that's when they get into the pipe. So they're going down in the winter and then they go up, in the spring. And so that is when you get your roots down into your pipes is in the winter. So we start November, December, January, February. Those are the months that we usually tend to like put the copper sulfate down, right? I don't know. Depends on your weather, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yep.
Yes, we have those
Mm-hmm.
cold months too. So yeah, if you're somewhere warm and you don't have to deal with that, lucky you.
Oh,
But I'm sure you have other issues like termites and cockroaches. I
yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
Probably.
Iguanas. Ours all freeze,
Probably.
so we don't have those.
Pros and cons of each place for sure.
Right,
Oh,
right. And then we get to
oh
winter
my goodness.
time, and winter is probably the bane of all landlord existence because landladies, because I think in winter it's the most serious because you have a pipe that bursts
Right.
or things like that happen. It's just the damage is severe. And so the
Hmm.
winter is when you just want to make sure that if someone's going to go out of town, you give them advance notice of what to do so that you don't have a pipe burst and they come back after Christmas and everything's been sitting there for 3 weeks, right? So to avoid this,
Hmm.
I send out an email and I say, okay, if you're going to be going out of town, drip the faucets, open the cupboards under the sink, keep your thermostat over 60 and drip the tub. And then those are like, you have to do those. And then if there's a flood or there's a freezing, then it's on them because they didn't do those things. But if they do those things, it doesn't matter if the pipes are exterior. Like we have some houses where the kitchen exterior pipes are, right on the exterior wall, and they
Hmm.
are a lot more prone to freezing. So if you keep those cupboards open and the thermostat on and dripping, then we don't have problems.
That makes a huge difference. Well, and you get to know which houses have those little problems too,
Yeah,
and you're more specific to those tenants, like do
very.
this and this absolutely, because you know if those exterior wall
Mhm.
pipes are gonna most
Freeze,
likely to freeze. So,
right?
yeah, but I love that. Communicate with them, make sure they know. I had a tenant that was an exchange teacher from a foreign country that was warm,
Mm-hmm.
warm climate, and she was leaving for the holidays to go visit family, and she had just turned off the heat because
Yes.
she didn't want to pay for it while she was gone. And so, I had to explain, no, you have to leave the heat over 60 degrees or it will get too cold and freeze in here. She just hadn't been experienced with that. And a lot of things, it depends on the region you're in. Or you brought up flushing the irrigation lines. Well, we don't really have irrigation in the Midwest for residential properties. So
Hmm.
that's something, that we don't even deal with. So it just depends on what your region is and what your list will look different based upon your climate and location. But these are
Right.
kind of the main ones.
Right. And I took over management for an eightplex where that had happened. They hadn't filled the apartment. So someone moved out, hadn't filled it. Then
Oh,
they
yeah.
go in to show it and the pipe had burst. They turned off the utilities. Yeah.
Yikes, yikes,
So
yikes.
yeah, so one of the first jobs I had going into that eightplex was to fully remodel, gut and remodel that apartment. So that was the job number one, but that is why I know that
Fun
building is
times.
sensitive. It's
Mm-hmm.
a sensitive building, right? And then winter, of course,
It's a
if you
little
have
delicate.
snow, then
Mm-hmm.
you need to tell them what's expected, that they need to keep their cars it's parked in certain areas. The snowplow comes around this time. It comes when there's 1 or 2 inches. Like you give them all of the rules of how it works. What are they supposed to be clearing? Should they have a snow shovel so that they can clear their own pathways? Is the snow company going to do that? These are the questions and answers that you need to put in your letter. Answers to their
Mm-hmm.
questions, I
And you
should
need
say.
to have those,
Yeah.
as we mentioned in a previous episode, have those contracts already lined up or getting them lined up now, not
Yes.
when it first snows, because then your property is at the bottom of the list.
Yes.
So reaching out to different companies, getting those quotes now, or if you already have a company you work with, making sure that you're getting those renewed
Yes.
contracts.
Right.
It's big.
Right. It's huge because your price goes up on your contract if you wait till winter. And then I
Mm-hmm.
always put a tip on there that, hey, if you don't want to shovel around your car, because the snowplow cannot actually get very close to their car because it doesn't want to scrape it. So there's always this like mound of snow that's behind the car, and then tenants are frustrated. So I say, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be clearing the snow around your car, you hear the snowplow pull your car out, and then they'll scrape. And this gets me, they get excited about this. So they like 6 a.m., they like go outside and they pull out their car, and then the snowplow actually is able to move it. And that's another
That's so
communication
funny.
is like a Saturday, I'll have everybody move their cars to a different location and then be able to clear the entire lot. Because if it's a heavy snow
Mm-hmm.
year, it just starts getting heavier and heavier right around where the cars are parked. So that's another
Mm.
communication for seasons you'd need to do.
For like a big, big apartment building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it happens. Yeah.
So we got through winter, right? Whew.
Yes.
With
Whew.
Hopefully nothing too major. On to spring.
On to spring.
Much better. Spring is around the corner, but that also brings chances of
Flooding.
flooding or rain issues, leaky
Right.
roofs.
Right, right, right. Because as that snow all melts, it's going somewhere, and it always finds the lowest point in that driveway. And it creates this
Mm,
place where it's getting potholes, and people are like complaining. So you need to make sure that you're on that maintenance of what is the spring water doing to your property, flooding issues in
mhm.
areas, and get on them. Cleaning up those planter beds. Who's in charge? Who's in charge of mowing? Reminding them again, it's
Yeah.
time. Make sure your yards are taken care of. Yeah.
hmm
And then, yeah.
And for me, this is also a big time that leases renew.
Mm.
I mean, you're going to spring, summer, which if you're being very specific about when your leases end, that's when we try to have them in. So it also brings, not only are you doing this spring communication, but if you have tenants moving out, you're communicating with them about like the turnover procedure and just giving them, any steps they need, knowing that their lease is coming up, or are they going to renew? We do a lot of communication going out of the winter into the spring of, okay, this is, the 60 days notice that your lease is expiring. Are you planning on renewing or not? If they hadn't let us know.
Mm.
So planning out your tenant turnover for the coming months, that's a good spring activity.
That's a good spring email to send out. Another one is
Yep.
sending the maintenance guy out again to start up the sprinklers, do any fertilizer, bugs, spray for bugs, filter check, because now it's been 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
AC, turn off and on, like maintain it and then get it ready to start for the summer. Check plumbing again for any signs of leak. And this is actually when I
Yep.
do my
Yep.
extinguishers, because if you do them in the winter and you tell everybody that they need to put their fire extinguisher outside, they say that they don't freeze, but if it takes a couple days for your guy to get to the fire extinguisher, then maybe that's not a good way to do it. So I like doing it either in fall or spring every year. And I tell everyone to put their fire extinguisher outside their door, and then my fire extinguisher guy can come and certify
Mm-hmm.
them. So they have to stamp it, the little tag, and say that they've been looked at, and then every 5 years recharge the extinguishers. But what they're looking for is to make sure that they haven't been used. And if they have, then they need to recharge them then. But if they haven't been used, then they just certify that they're still full. But this is an important thing I think a lot of people don't know, is that you do need to provide a fire extinguisher in the kitchen of your rentals if you have 3 or more units
Mm-hmm.
together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. So making sure that depending on the size of your units, you're providing those fire extinguishers. It's a big safety issue.
And then they have to be certified every year. So that's the next part that everyone forgets too. It's not just buy one
Mm.
at Costco and you're done. Yeah.
Then they
So
have to, I know the company I use, they called me last week because it's that time and said, hey, what's your schedule like? We're going to come and check the fire extinguishers and make sure everything's going, it's like,
it's
okie
perfect.
dokie.
It's perfect. I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, just have it automated. The more things you can have automated, and it will just happen like clockwork the easier on you.
hmm And a lot of cities have backflow certification that you have to do in the spring. Usually by May or June, you need to have someone come and check. This is for sprinklers. It's to certify that no water is going back into the system. So you have good water coming out. It's culinary, but it's outside. And so to make sure that bad water isn't coming back flowing into the good water to contaminate the water source, you have to certify that it's not. So you have to call a sprinkler guy to come and certify that. So these are
Oh,
things that certain cities have. I know what you don't know about sprinklers. Huh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because Indiana just
Exciting
stays
stuff.
green
It's just green regardless.
all
It's
the
humid and
time.
rainy. It's green.
Yeah.
You
So
don't have to do anything.
yeah, so sending out an email letting them know that you're going to be doing that. So okay, so now we're on summer. We made it to the warm season.
Yay. And summer is a great time to do all of your major repairs. This is what you've been waiting for
Oh
all
yes.
winter and spring and saving those pennies because that's when you can do roof tear-offs and siding projects and caulking and painting projects. I know we were salvaging a garage that we had purchased in July, but it was on its last leg and now it looks so great. It got a new roof and gutters and
Nice.
painted, power washed and scraped and painted everything, and now it looks beautiful and is usable. So
Beautiful.
this is the time, summer is the time to get all of those big projects done. And if you have parking lots, I did both of my big commercial parking lots this
Hmm.
summer because I just keep them on the same time. I think it's every 3 years. We oil them and repaint them. So that was a great time.
I had trouble getting a concrete guy all summer until just this
Really?
week. I finally said he could do it. And I have what, like two or
Oh
three
my.
weeks before the asphalt factory shuts down for the winter where it's too
Yeah,
cold.
for the
So,
winter.
so I'm like, okay, we're figuring out whether we should do concrete or asphalt for a new pad, outside a garage, a detached garage.
Mm.
But
Hmm.
I was just thinking how hard it is to sometimes get these people scheduled if you wait until summer. So it's nice in the spring, you get it, scheduled and priced out, and then you get on their calendar. But I waited till
Oh,
summer, so
definitely.
now I have to wait till
Hmm.
fall to get it done.
Yes, that is a good point. I know all summer long I was trying to get this awning project done. I wanted awnings replaced. And I mean, we started in the spring, but
Yep.
they didn't even get scheduled till the summer. And so it didn't even happen till September,
Mm-hmm.
which luckily it still happened, or concrete patching,
Yeah.
different stairs and
Yes.
sidewalks that I needed patched. And the concrete guys are so busy. Yep, it took
Mm-hmm.
them months to get out there, but luckily they did it a couple weeks ago, so it's all patched and ready to go, which is exciting.
Do you know, I
So,
found with concrete, which is just kind of a fun thing, is I found a guy who does plugs. He'll drill out 4 plugs in a concrete sidewalk square or a patio, and then he pours in this foam slash urethane stuff, and it like
hmm.
lifts up the sidewalk. So if you have anything sloped or falling, so I actually had
Oh,
stairs.
he could level it.
And then and it had sunk down. And so he went and lifted it up with this polyurethane foam slurry stuff that he put
Yeah.
in. And it just lifts it up and it just expands and then it hardens and it's
Oh
waterproof.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
So I was able to not have to replace some of these concrete pads that had sunk and created tripping hazards because I just lifted them up. So that was much cheaper actually. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then he
because I had to
fills.
cut out sections. I had to cut out sections. They had to pour new sections.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
not cheap.
And then he just puts a little concrete like into that little plug. So then it's just so slightly discolored gray, but it's still concrete in just those 4 little plugs that he pulled out.
Hmm.
So it's really good. Actually,
Hmm.
it worked really well.
I
So
hadn't heard of that.
hmm yeah, it's just called
Very
it's called
cool.
concrete lifts. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, and
The
that's
more you know.
right. And that's when we paint our lines for our parking lots and um,
Yeah.
yeah, retar the asphalt. So those are all just the big projects, and you get those done in the summer, but it's a lot easier to find places for your tenants to park in the summer than the winter. So
That's true.
it's nice to be able to do things that require, it's just so much easier to do those projects.
Yes.
Yeah, in the
Yes.
warm.
Yeah, and I think the important thing, in my experience, most tenants are very reasonable about you doing these improvements. They just want to make sure they have advance notice. Like you said, if they have pets or a job or little kids, they want to just know and have plenty of notice that you're coming into the property, or if they aren't going to be able to use their driveway or the roof is being torn out, just making sure that you're communicating clearly with them and cordially. And I think that you'll have good luck doing it because
Yeah.
most tenants want these things done.
And often I hear of landladies that will have tenants for 5 years and never been inside the apartment because if they don't put in a maintenance request, then you don't go in, right? And so something
Hmm.
that these little inspections to like do the filters and the smoke alarm batteries, they're a very cheap service to do. It might cost you like, $13 maybe, but you actually are now inside the apartment getting an idea if damage is occurring or if leaks are happening, whether they're intended or not. Like maybe they're not by the tenants, but it's happening anyway, and it would have cost a lot more money you finding out in 5 years, right? And so it gets your
That is so true.
foot in the door, right? And it's just one of those little secrets, I think, that is the reason that our properties can be well maintained is because we don't just wait till the end of the lease to see what happened and hope it's okay. Yeah.
That's scary. That's a horror story to me. Because someone's saying, "Oh, I haven't been inside it for years." Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very terrifying. Because yeah, even if you're just going in or your handyman's going in for 5 minutes to replace a filter or something, you can glean a plethora of information because of that. And just know, like preventative stuff. Oh, wait, he said this and this and this were done. Or there was a leak he could see in the dining room ceiling. Okay, there's something going on upstairs. So then they go and check that and prevent even more
Yeah.
major damage. So I'm not
Right.
speaking from experience. No.
No, but one of those inspections, yeah, no, right. One of those inspections is when we saw that the dog had been eating up the baseboard, and this place was 2 months new.
Oh.
Like we just built it. So,
Mm,
I mean, that's when you're like, oh, well, you catch it now when there's only two of the baseboards in the living room chewed up, or we wait 5 years
mhm.
and what else is going to be all chewed up, right? I mean, it's just like, can you imagine all
Yeah.
the damage
Yeah.
that occurs? So, yeah, it tells you if you want to
That's
renew.
important.
Yeah, so it's good.
And you can make those decisions, yeah, knowing all the information. So
Mhm.
hopefully this is helpful and you can keep your properties running smoothly and have all these communications automated. And so your systems will save you time and make sure that your tenants and you are on the same page. So happy renting.
Yes.
Yes. And if you're enjoying our podcast, please leave a 5-star review and subscribe and share. And if you have any topics or questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Please email us at landladybosses@gmail.com. And remember, no one is going to manage your property as well as you are.